What is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambo Media, and here just to my right is Lucas Gilbreath. He was recently added to the 40-man roster for the Colorado Rockies. Lucas, we're here on the bump. We did a segment a few weeks ago back in December talking to you, digging a little bit deeper into the mental side of things, but now I want to talk more mechanics and get into your bullpen progression as well. But I want to talk to you about the huge jump you made during quarantine during 2020. What was that jump mechanically that you made to help you jump from sitting low 90s and then jumping to sitting high 90s and even touching 100 during instructional league?
Absolutely, yeah. We talked about it quite a bit, and we talked about a lot of the mental side, but the big thing for me is obviously the body is crucial, the body's important, everybody would tell you that. The big thing for me was getting the body ready in terms of strength, mobility, flexibility, stability, all that stuff.
Right.
And then from there, the biggest changes for me were kind of learning to use the body better.
Right.
So like right here, a lot of times guys, feel rushed to get down the mound, feel rushed to get to the plate, because at the end of the day, our goal is to throw. But
Absolutely.
The issue here is when you're so rushed to throw, you really don't get to use the rest of the pieces, right? So I was kind of one of these guys that went leg up in a hurry down the mound. And at that point, you're not using your legs, you're not using your upper half. You're just kind of getting through it without using any momentum, without using any power. So one of the big adjustments I made was really staying in this back leg. And that meant getting really strong back here, not only mechanically, but physically, so that when I go up, I can really hold my weight back all the way until front foot strike, and now I can store all this power back here. But I'd say the legs are obviously one of the most important pieces of pitching, even though they don't get the credit. So making that adjustment was huge.
And we've seen guys in the MLB and even in the minor league system going down to the high school and even youth level as well. Some guys are more of a slide step type of pitcher, and then we have more of a leg kick type of guy. What side do you stand on more, and what do you tend to do more?
I tend to go high leg kick more strictly because I'm left-handed. However, I think it's great. I think it's very important and significant to have both, because the way you look at it, you're constantly trying to disrupt timing, whether it's with the batter, whether it's with the runner, and the more things you can do to disrupt that timing, the more successful you're going to be, not only with guys not stealing bases, but also having success at the plate. Yeah,
absolutely. And I want to talk to you about the whole progression, not just at this point on the bump during bullpens into spring training. Spring training is obviously next month, but I want to go back when the off season first starts, and then transitioning throughout the off season. What we would see a normal off season, at least. Obviously, we haven't seen a normal off season this past year because of COVID. But say it's a normal season, what does that progression look like coming off of a regular season, and then transitioning throughout that long off season into a spring training, and then finally into a regular season as well?
Yeah, for sure. So this is the biggest thing for me, is taking the 2, 3, 4 weeks of rest after the season, kind of depending on when we get done, what playoffs are doing, all that kind of stuff. So the biggest mistake I see youth all the way through high school kids make is you have to take a break. Big leaguers take breaks, minor league guys take breaks, everybody takes breaks. And that time, that 2 weeks, that 4 weeks, even that 6 weeks for some guys is crucial to let your body recover, to let some of those, micro tears in your muscles and your ligaments recover. Because for me, it's hard, because I want to get back up there, I want to keep working, I want to fix stuff, but you have to sit back and say, that's what's going to keep me going, that's what's going to allow me to get better. So then after that 4 weeks or whatever, I'm in, let's say mid-October, now I start back into the throwing progression. And for me personally, the first month or so is all about arm path, arm path, arm path. So for me, that just means being consistent, being smooth, being fluid. So now when in the coming months I start ramping up the effort, everything feels clean, everything feels smooth, because I can tell from experience, when you start off with high effort and then try and fix things along the way, it's a lot more difficult than really prioritizing mechanics early and working into it. So after the October, after the the mechanics work, the form work, that's when I really start jumping into the lower half. So I like to work on the finish, which is obviously the hand, the arm path, and I like to work on the start, which is the lower half. So that's where I'm starting to work in, the running guns, the crow hops, starting to get maybe up close to the mound, really working on using my legs. And then once we hit about late November, December, I start jumping on the mound, and I start, changing effort as we go and as I start feeling ready for it. So I'll start off at somewhere around 60% effort, all fastballs, really trying to get my command down, feel smooth, feel like I'm ready to go. And then I'll slowly start working up about 10% every week. And after about the 3rd or 4th week, we'll add in sliders. We'll add in the breaking ball a little bit more until about this point when I really start getting on it and I'm throwing longer bullpens. I'm throwing 35 plus pitches a couple times a week. I'm trying to see hitters starting in a week or two, and that's when it gets important, obviously.
Okay, and before we get into your bullpen progression, here at this point in time, like I mentioned, we have spring training starting next month, or March when you report. Approaching that, we'll get into your bullpen progression as of now here in a little bit. But before we get into that, you mentioned the recovery side of things. Obviously, staying healthy on the bump, especially at a level like you're at here in the minor league system and approaching the MLB. What does that recovery process look like for you, and what's the important side of things, and how do you stay as healthy as possible throughout a season? What are you doing pregame? What are you doing postgame? What does that all look like?
Oh man, I know we joked about it a little bit, and a lot of times it actually takes more time for me to activate and recover than it does to actually throw the bullpen or do the workout. And it's a tough thing to do, and I wish I would have done it, when I was younger, but it's one of those things that the workout is great. The workout is, what's going to get you bigger, stronger, but the activation, getting ready, rolling out, really getting your body ready to go is going to keep you healthy. And then the recovery piece is huge, and that's something that I can't express enough, because if you don't let yourself recover, you're just going to keep adding, more and more stress, more and more strain to those muscles until eventually something bursts, right? Something pops. And so for me, it's really focusing and really having the energy and the discipline to really focus on my recovery, really focus on my activation every single day.
No, yeah, most definitely. And now that we wrapped up that, let's transition into your bullpen progression.
Okay, so at this point, obviously, I know this should go without saying, but you don't just hop up there and start throwing pitches. You got to start getting a little fluidity, start getting into your arm a little bit, start using those muscles that you just warmed up to get going. So for me, it's a nice and easy step through, and it's a nice and easy throw, really focusing on finishing with the upper half. So I'm just nice and easy, step into it, boom, finish. And so right there, obviously it's not high effort, obviously it's not max speed, but I'm trying to get a little bit of rhythm. I'm trying to get a little bit of timing down. So when I do hop up on the mound, now it's a little easier for me to kind of transition into the full leg kick, into, a little bit higher effort throws. So after a few of those, most times what I'll actually do is hop up on the mound and I'll start a little bit wider than I normally would. So legs are about out here. Obviously still not full effort. We're at about 60% effort. Just kind of focusing on that same thing, that fluidity, that easy motion to kind of get in the rhythm. So it's just here, all the way through it. And if you notice, I'm trying to stay pretty square. I'm trying to stay pretty linear so that when we do start adding in the effort, we don't have to take 2 steps back to try and fix some problems. We're trying to solve the problems early, so once the effort goes up, the mechanics are already there. So every pitch, I'm going to start inching a little bit closer with my feet to where it's almost a full leg lift. Okay, so now once I'm at my full leg lift, now for me, it's time to really get the full motion going. So my first few pitches are going to be at 60–70% effort. I'm really going to be focusing on getting into my lower half, and I'm really going to be focused on getting the ball down in the zone. So for the start of the bullpen, I like to go glove side fastball. So extension side, some people call it, because to me, that's really gonna help me get out and get extension and get through all my pitches. So to me, that's kind of the starting point to get through the rest of the progression. So the next piece, after we've gotten our fastball to both sides of the plate, I start to work into my primary off-speed pitch. So a lot of guys that's changeup, some guys it's curve. For me specifically, that's my slider. So the first few, I'm not gonna be perfect, obviously. I'm really working on getting good spin, getting good extension before I really start getting on them and trying to throw my best breaking ball. So once I've finished going through each and every pitch, I usually throw, anywhere from 5 to 8 pitches for each pitch, fastball, slider, curveball for me. After that, I'm gonna start working into a live AB scenario. So obviously we got no hitter in here, but I'm working on sequencing, how I'm gonna work my pitches, what I'm gonna do, slider back to back, fastball up, curveball down, that kind of stuff to start getting my mind ready for game situations. 1-1. Too much. Two. Three, 2. Lovely. There it is. 1 out. Go 0-1. One for the gun. Not 100%. But. That's a punchy. That was a good stick. All right, we're back. Start the effort again. No, it's not gonna go up. Take like 30 seconds off. All right, last one for the gun. All right. How's a cutter? That may not be. You good?
That one hurt.
We'll call it there.
Yeah.
Not bad.
You're right.
It's not fun.
That
I
shit
appreciate
hurt.
it though.
Yeah.
That wraps up everything for this bullpen progression segment with Rockies 40-man roster. Left-handed pitcher Lucas Gilbreath. Lucas, best of luck in the future. Lambo media audience, make sure you guys tune in for future videos with Lucas, because we'll for sure keep doing something. And stay on the lookout, because he's possibly making a YouTube in the future. Not 100% sure yet, but it's definitely a possibility in the future. We definitely got to get him on the train. But I recently started something, Lucas, like I mentioned a little bit earlier before we started recording, where I have my interviewee nominate someone else to do an interview with Lambo Media, me as well. So Lucas, who's that guy?
I'm going to nominate Nate Harris,
Okay.
Rockies pitcher.
Awesome.
Out of San Antonio, Texas, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it, man.